Hi guys, so Boris Johnson got so unhinged in the House of Commons on Wednesday that the Speaker of the House, who's generally pretty useless, actually had to intervene. Now, they were talking about cuts to the armed forces. Boris Johnson had promised back in 2019 he would not do such a thing. It's been part of successive Conservative manifestos to not cut the armed services. And Keir Starmer raises this in the House of Commons. He also talks about cuts to nurses' salaries. In real terms, Boris Johnson, of course, avoids that. But we're going to get to the point where it got so bad that the Speaker of the House had to intervene.
Keir Starmer.
Mr. Speaker, what's weaker than making a promise to our armed forces just before the election, then breaking it and not being prepared to admit it, not having the courage to admit it? And there's a pattern here, Mr. Speaker. He promised the NHS that they would have, quote, whatever they need. Now nurses are getting a pay cut. He promised a tax guarantee. Now he's putting taxes up for families. He promised he wouldn't cut the armed forces. Now he's done just that. So if the Prime Minister is so proud of what he's doing, so determined to push ahead, why doesn't he at least have the courage to put this cut in the armed forces to a vote in this House?
Of course, he will not do that because he knows that the public would be completely against this, and they would put pressure on their local MP, Conservative MP, not to support a cut. Boris Johnson would face a humiliation if it were to fail to get through Parliament, considering that he has an 80-seat majority. So this is why he doesn't want to push it through Parliament.
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I'm proud of what we're doing to increase spending on the armed forces by the biggest amount since the Cold War. The only reason
This is not about investment in the armed forces. This is about cutting the number of soldiers.
The reason we can do that, Mr. Speaker, is because under this Conservative government we've been running a sound economy, and it's also because we believe in defence. We've been getting on with the job. He talks about nurses and investment in the NHS. I'm proud of the massive investment.
He's proud. I think they should put this up on a billboard. I'm proud, and then show the cuts to the NHS and the cuts to nurses as well. People who are, putting their lives on the line. They have been doing it in particular over the last 12 months. Many have died, and Boris Johnson's response is, I'm proud of what we have done.
That we've made in the NHS, and actually we have 60,000 more nurses now in training, and we've increased their starting salary by 12.8%. We're getting on with the job, Mr. Speaker, of recruiting more police, 20,000 more police. I think we've done 7,000 already. While they're out on the streets, Mr. Speaker, at demonstrations shouting, "Kill the bill," Mr. Speaker. That's the difference. That's the difference.
Now, this is where it became so unhinged that the Speaker of the House had to intervene. Now, what Boris Johnson is doing is quite clever in a way. He's suggesting that the opposition are out protesting on the streets, when it's not true. As far as I know, I don't think there are any MPs who've been out on the streets. There has been one or two Labour MPs who've been extremely critical of what the police's tactics in regards to the vigil, but I don't think there are any out on the streets. Even if it were one or two MPs, that wouldn't represent the Labour Party as a whole. But you see what Boris Johnson is doing here. He's telling lies, and he knows he can get away with it. I think the Labour Party need to respond to this in a robust way. They need to call him corrupt. They need to say that he's taking backhanders. They need to even tell lies at this stage. I'm sorry to say it, but it's necessary. You want to win, they're playing dirty, you have to play dirtier. There's no point telling the truth because it's useless in the House of Commons. Boris Johnson is lying and he's not getting punished for it. He's able to say whatever he wants and he gets away with it. You're going to see it demonstrated here.
Between his party and my party. We're pro-vax, Mr. Speaker, we're low tax, and when it comes to defence, we've got your backs, Mr. Speaker.
Can I just say, I genuinely mean this. I do not believe any member of Parliament would support that kill the bill. I've got to be very careful of what we say. I say we are all united in this House in the support and the protection that the police do offer us, and nobody will shy away from that.
Now, he could have gone forward and said, Prime Minister, would you like to take that back? But he didn't. He's demonstrated that he's useless. Boris Johnson lied in Parliament. Now, if individual MPs were protesting, that's a different story. But he said they, so he's talking about the Labour Party. The Labour Party have not been out on the streets protesting. But he knows he can get away with it. He knows that he can lie in Parliament and there are no consequences. What is the point of the Speaker of the House here? Speaker of the House has intervened. But what consequences are there for Boris Johnson? Now, I don't like the idea of lying in Parliament, but I think at this stage, it's a war of attrition. You have to respond by saying that Boris Johnson is corrupt. Boris Johnson is taking money, from shady individuals. Priti Patel is a fascist. You have to say something, because the Labour Party are being defeated here by lies, and they can't use Parliament to hold the government to account. Priti Patel can lie, Boris Johnson can lie, Matt Hancock can lie. The Speaker of the House is completely impotent when it comes to holding them to account in any way. This is not a judge who's able to overrule a lawyer in a case. The Speaker of the House is absolutely useless, and this has been demonstrated here. Boris Johnson claiming that the opposition are out on the streets protesting against the police and against this bill. A complete fabrication. And he knows that he knows it's a lie, and he knows he will not be punished. How do we respond to this? Getting up and asking the Prime Minister, would you mind taking it back? Even if he were to take it back, it would not go viral. Him apologizing in Parliament would not go viral. Him suggesting that the opposition are out on the streets it's already in the minds of the public. His lie has had its impact. Now, people watching this, who are not completely convinced about Keir Starmer, now have in their minds the idea that maybe Keir Starmer was out protesting along with these people who were smashing cars and stuff like that. It's already, the lie has had its impact. And Boris Johnson is pretty good at doing this. He knows if I tell a lie, and it's a massive lie, the people who don't care about the truth are going to believe it, and people who are on the fence are probably going to believe it too. You have to respond in a very aggressive way. Even take something that's a half truth and expand it into something bigger. We know there's corruption. Call it out. Say Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister, is corrupt. The Prime Minister is taking money from shady individuals. Why isn't he answering to that? How much money did you receive this month from X? How much money did Matt Hancock receive this month from Y? You have to call it out. It's extremely frustrating to see the Prime Minister clearly lying in Parliament, and not being held to account. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think, what we should do, what Keir Starmer should do, what Parliament should do in order to overcome this problem. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot. I want to say a big thank you to all of my patrons. You ensure that this channel continues to exist. I'm eternally grateful for all of your support. If you join Patreon, you will receive instant access to our Discord server, where we have both audio and video chats. You can chat with me and other patrons, where we discuss important and non-important issues. Becoming a patron per month costs about the same as a large coffee, so why not check it out?